Welcome to Impact News. This is the commentary, and today the subject is wrong is wrong and should be treated the same by all people, not just some people. Okay. The double standard in the media, particularly when it involves sports. Superstar and sports legend LeBron James is calling it out, folks. That's right. James says there's a double standard in reporters talking about Kyrie Irving, but not about Jerry Jones's photo. The Jerry Jones photo in question showed Jones among a white mob, that's right, in 1957, preventing black students from entering a segregated high school that they attended. Nobody's talking about that. As for Brooklyn Nets player Kyrie Irving, he was subjected to intense media scrutiny after he posted a link to an anti-Semitic film, and it led to his recent suspension without pay. Wrong is wrong and should be treated the same when people are wrong. Everybody should be treated the same. All right. Jones says not talking about the Jones photo is similar to burying history. LeBron James adds, as a black man, as a black athlete, as someone who has a power and a platform, when we do something wrong or something that people don't agree with, it's on every single tabloid, every single news coverage. It's the bottom ticker. It's asked about every single day. James also noted that the double standard was in play with Boston Celtics head coach Ime Udoka when he was suspended for allegedly violating team policies, which got more scrutiny, folks, than former NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre's involvement in the Mississippi welfare scandal. Now, just take a look at that one. Ime Udoka, wrong, but he violated 2-3 people. Still wrong. Brett Favre took all the taxpayers' money and allegedly, we've got to get court on that, but taxpayers' money, and it was involved in a welfare scandal. Wrong again. We should not be talking about Ime Udoka more than we're talking about Brett Favre. That has to change. But we got the new people in charge and the young people in charge, and I don't think they're going to stand for it. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Stay with me. I've got your news, your slay words, you're missing. Also, Ask Dr. K, the International Report, and your financial news, and you have to know what's going on with your money because it's taxpayers' dollars that I'm talking about in many cases. Stay with me. I am Carol Angela Davis. I'm bringing you the news from around the neighborhood and, of course, all around the world. Folks, let's get started. Firearm-related violence for black men is at a 28-year high. Folks, the United States has seen a substantial increase in firearm related deaths over the past 3 decades, and black men, of course, are the most affected. In fact, black men are 23 times more likely to experience firearm-related violence than white men, with the most affected ages being between the age of 20 and 40. And the experts say weak gun laws are part of the problem, and they cause more damage in places that are experiencing systemic racial inequalities. Now, this information is in a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and study authors say it's time to reframe the gun violence issue as a public health crisis. Okay? All right, let's go to Hakeem Jeffries. He's now the first African-American to lead a major political party in Congress. He's a Democrat from Brooklyn, and of course, he's leading the Democrats. He says he hopes to find common ground with the GOP where possible, but he's not going to be crazy. All right, he takes over the reins from longtime Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from California. Meanwhile, there is more change as Catherine Clark, age 59, takes over for Jim Clyburn, who's 82. He's from South Carolina. She'll be the Democratic whip. Pete Aguilar, he's 43. He's taking over from Steny Hoyer, who's 83. He'll be the Democratic caucus chair, and it comes as a critical time because we all know the Republicans have seized control of the House of Representatives. They've also weaponized the U.S. Supreme Court. They've gerrymandered congressional maps throughout the country, and they have used their pulpits to spread and incite messages of hate and division. Moving on, the Congressional Black Caucus elected Congressman and Nevada Democrat Stephen Horsford. He's the new chairman. He's going to now lead the African-American Legislative Assembly for the next 2 years as its 28th chair. Congressman Horsford co-leads the House Ways and Means Committee Racial Equity Initiative, which works to address the role of racism and other forms of discrimination in perpetuating health and economic inequalities in the United States. Also, Jamaican-American Yvette Clarke, she was elected the first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She's the daughter of Jamaican immigrants and represents the 9th Congressional District there in Brooklyn. She is a senior member of both the U.S. House of Representatives Energy and Commerce Committee and the House Committee on Homeland Security, where she serves as chair of the Cybersecurity, Infrastructure Protection, and Innovation Subcommittee. Folks, moving on, we know that many black farmers are facing bankruptcy today because the government reneged on debt relief specifically for black farmers and passed as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. That story is going to be told in a documentary about a black Muslim farmer. Ebony Magazine Couple of the Year in 2012, Rufus and Jenny Triplett, they're currently in pre-production for an in-depth look into the lives of three families that are about that farm life, folks, okay? The injustices and hardships of black farmers are well documented, starting with that lie they told about those 40 acres and a mule. Okay, that was after slavery. Now, the documentary is called Our Razak, Faith Farming Family. It's a story about three black and Muslim families that are living in the farm struggle of the 21st century. Moving on and looking at the climate, three tribal communities in Alaska and Washington, each getting 75 million folks, okay, because they are being forced to move to higher ground. This climate is no joke. The Quinault Indian Nation is on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. There's also two tribes, the Newtok Village there in Alaska and the native village of Napakiak, also in Alaska. They're each going to receive 25 million, plus they're going to get another 17 million because they have to buy, demolish, and build new infrastructure. This is just the beginning of a growing number of communities in the United States. They're all facing the initial effects of climate change, which poses serious risks to their homes. Then moving on, some progress about the climate's future. Renewables, folks, actually outproduced coal by 15% in the U.S. during the first 3 quarters of 2022. That's good news. The Energy Information Administration says renewable energy provided almost 23% of electrical generation in the U.S. during the first 3 quarters of 2022. Now, renewable energy sources comfortably outproduced both coal and nuclear. For the 9-month period, electrical generation by wind, it was up 18%. Solar energy grew by 25%. Hydropower increased by 7%, and geothermal also grew. Good news. Then there's some more good news. There's a new wheat that wheat scientists say can withstand extreme heat and drought. Apparently, it's a variety of durum wheat that is a cross between commercial and wild wheats. Wheat, you should know, is the most widely consumed grain globally. It is eaten by billions of people, and it is grown on every continent except Antarctica. Durum wheat is used for pasta, pizza crust, also for flatbreads and couscous, and also for making desserts like baklava. Farmers in Morocco, they're going to be the first to start growing the new version of durum wheat, and that's because Morocco is undergoing a drought. It's the worst drought in 40 years, and grain production there is down by about 70% due to the dry conditions. All right, moving on, the House Judiciary Committee says it's going to hold a hearing regarding allegations that Justice Samuel Alito leaked at least one of the court's opinions to right-wing activists, okay? It's calling on the Senate to follow suit in the next Congress. The committee opens its investigation December 8th, the hearing coming on the heels of a bombshell New York Times report in which Reverend Rob Shank, the former head of the religious right-wing group Faith in Action, said he led a lobbying campaign targeting Supreme Court justices, and it worked. Well, we know that. We got the Dobbs decision. More than 60 progressive groups, including Demand Justice, are demanding these congressional hearings. Then looking at your health, there's apparently an Alzheimer's drug breakthrough. Apparently the drug lecanemab, which is a monoclonal antibody, can slow the cognitive decline of Alzheimer's patients. Also, do you know Bianca Smith? She's the first black woman coach of Major League Baseball. She made history in 2021 after she became the first black woman to serve as a minor league coach for the Boston Red Sox, and then she is also helping players at the Red Sox spring facility. She graduated from an Ivy League school with 2 graduate degrees, one in sports business and the other in sports law. So we wish her well. She should also know she had internships with the Texas Rangers and the Cincinnati Reds. All right, moving on and looking at the diaspora, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, she's been named one of the 25 most influential women in 2022 by the Financial Times. Now, Mottley is a lawyer who trained at the London School of Economics and won her first political seat at the age of 28, folks. She's the 8th person to hold the office of Prime Minister in Barbados, and she is the person who introduced those constitutional changes which abolished the country's constitutional monarchy. That was very recent. She is also a former Attorney General of Barbados, becoming the first woman to be appointed in that job. She is the first Barbadian to be featured on the cover of Time magazine, the 2022 edition of the 100 Most Influential People. and that Mia Motley got for her outspoken advocacy for addressing climate change. We wish her well. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Those are your news stories. Stay with me. You know I've got your slay word missing, the International Report, Ask Dr. K, and the financial news. Stay with me. Welcome to the Slay Word of the Week, folks. That's right, folks. The word this week is abdicate, 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 baby. It's a verb. That means it gives the sentence action. Its origin is the mid-16th century from the Latin, and we're going to use it in two sentences. Did you see the article, Hundreds of U.S. Catholic Leaders Endorse LGBT Protections? Catholics say to do any less would abdicate their responsibility as Christians to live the gospel in public life by advancing the good of all people, especially those on the margins. Go Catholics. Also today, as President Donald Trump completely abdicated his responsibility to the American people, and he's about to pay for it, okay? Abdicate, to relinquish or give up something, formally, to discard it, okay? That is the definition. Use it all week in your convos and level up your vocab.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove.
You know who you are and who we are. We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight.
Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? And the government wouldn't know it? No.
They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Where are you? We are looking for our missing black girls, and with your help, we will find them. 13-year-old Mercedes Crumpton was last seen on a Friday on the west side of Chicago, Illinois. She was spotted in the 800 block of South Keeler Avenue. Mercedes regularly wears a black dress and black furry sandals. She has a scar on her nose and wears long braids. Mercedes is 5'5". She weighs 100 pounds and has brown eyes and black hair. Please call Chicago police with any information about Mercedes Crumpton. Where are you, Mercedes? We are out there looking for you, and with the community's help, we know we will find you. Welcome back. This is our international report. As you know, we bring you everything that's happening that you need to know about around the world with Dr. Inyang Ebong-Harstrup. Ini, welcome.
Thank you, Carol. A story caught my eye this week about Germany and arresting over 25 people over an alleged right-wing coup plot. And I thought, how interesting. This is something that's not just affecting the United States. So in raids across the country, German police arrested 25 suspected members and supporters of a far-right group who allegedly wanted to overthrow the state by violent means and install a national leader who's a prince, although Germany got rid of its princes and princesses, but he is a prince, and who had sought support from Russia. The Russians said, hello, we don't know anything about this. We don't want to get involved. But they went, the Germans went, and about 3,000 officers conducted raids on Wednesday at 130 sites across federal Germany. And they arrested these citizens, and these citizens are basically saying, listen to this, it is suggested that these people believe that there is a deep state operating in Germany, which is antithetical to Germany's interests, and that this Russian national and others may have tried to assist, even though the Russians say they don't know anything about it. So they went on these raids, and they found also that even within the security forces, there's some right-wing groups. But the prosecutors are saying, don't worry about it, we have this. The German government will respond with full force of the law, said the Interior Minister. The investigations provide a glimpse into the abyss of terrorist threats in this Reich milieu, that is the citizens' milieu. So they are very, very clear that they are not going to tolerate their state being overtaken by this right-wing group.
Wouldn't it be nice if America felt that way and would actually really seriously do something about it? Okay. That's interesting that it is around the world. Thank you so much, Edie. That's your international report. Now you know what's going on over there in Germany and how it relates to the United States. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Edie, no telling what kind of story you're going to bring us from around the world.
I don't know what I'll come up with next, but you'll be sure it'll be something that you'll have seen in America and you go, aha, we're not the only ones that are going through this mess.
So true. We'll be right back. Well, thanks for staying with me and joining me for the financial news, folks. Looking at that news, some areas of the United States, folks, that used to have affordable housing markets, guess what? They're no longer affordable. Does that make sense? In 75 cities, home prices that used to rank better than the national average for affordability, folks, they are now worse than the average. That's according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Nationwide housing affordability is the worst on record. Cities in the Southeast, from Nashville to Atlanta, from Tampa to Orlando, have seen some of the sharpest declines in affordability. And folks, you're not going to believe this. In Key West, Florida, now, get this. That's the worst. All right, the share of income needed to purchase a home, a median priced home in Key West, Florida, is now close to 100% of income, leaving no room for anything else. Somebody needs to step in and do something about this because it makes absolutely no sense. Let's move to China. China isn't doing so well, folks. It's really not doing well. In fact, U.S. manufacturing orders in China are down 40%, folks, all due to a collapse in demand. China to the U.S. shipping container volume, folks, down 21% between August and November. And Chinese factories, they're shutting down 2 weeks earlier than usual ahead of the Chinese New Year, which starts in January of next year. Here in the U.S., the large West Coast ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, folks, they have experienced the largest drop in trade. This year, the U.S. imported more goods from Europe than China. If you can believe that, that is a big shift from the 2010s. But you should also know that the drop in manufacturing orders also affects the Vietnam. That's the drop for the U.S. and the EU. It affects Vietnam, which has been booming as a manufacturing hub as more trade moved away from China. And then also today, did you know that according to the USDA, the U.S. is the largest consumer producer and exporter, folks, of corn, largest in the world. And that's why they call it yellow gold, folks. The United States has just about 90 million planted acres of corn. That was in 2021. U.S. corn is worth over $86 billion. It turns out that corn is in everything, people. Medications, textiles, and also it's turned into ethanol, which we use to fuel cars all over the nation. At the same time, farmland values have reached all-time record highs, folks, and that should tell you all you need to know. That's why it is imperative that we band together and do what we can to make sure our Black farmers keep their farms. I'm Carol Angela Davis. That's your financial news. Stay with me. I got to ask Dr. K.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
I know, baby. I know. I'm sorry I ain't been spending time with you. I've just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss? Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. Your partner. I don't want it back.
I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes.
You see the movie, huh? Did you see Goodfellas? New Jack City?
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Fine bullshit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
We are back as we always do every week and close the show out with you and your health in mind with Dr. K. Welcome, Dr. K.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Whew, it's the holidays.
Yes.
And I wanted to take this moment and talk to my lovely listeners about carbs. Good carbs and bad carbs, because during the holiday season, we're presented with a lot of bad carbs. And boy, do they taste good. They're full of sugar, they're full of chemicals, They're full of all kinds of agents that make them taste even better than they actually taste. And they're very bad for our metabolism. So when we talk about wellness, we're talking about good carbs. And good carbs, of course, are whole foods, oranges, apples. They're not from the middle aisle, they're from the produce section. And therefore, as much as we can during this time, we want to focus on good carbs, even as we enjoy some bad carbs, but we at least want to know what we're eating, okay? So what makes a good carb good? It has sugar in the form that our body can use it. It contains fiber, and fiber is very good for our intestines. It's necessary for good digestion. It slows down digestion and therefore allows our blood sugar to regulate itself. No super high blood sugar, no super low blood sugar. So we want fibrous carbs, which again are found in the produce aisle. They're not found in the middle aisle of the supermarket. If we know that we're going somewhere and we know there's going to be a lot of food there that's probably not really good for us, maybe we want to balance that out with, say, a salad or fruit or something that is a whole food prior to going. So let's enjoy the holiday season. Let's know that alcohol in moderation is okay. Alcohol in overconsumption is not okay. And know that we're in a society where we're encouraged to overconsume, and then come January, pay some money, get on a diet, lose the weight. But let's try to balance out our season and enjoy ourselves. And come January, enjoy ourselves some more. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. K. And I hope everybody heard her message. And Dr. K, I know you're going to come back in January and give us some dieting tips and some eating tips to start the new year. I think you did that last year.
I am going to do it, but people, I don't want us to have to go on a crash diet and get diagnosed with pre-diabetes, get on a new medication. Oh my God, my blood pressure. We have to try to keep it in balance. So come January, we're a little bit happier.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's Dr. K. She's keeping you healthy. All you got to do is pay attention. I'm Carol Angela Davis. From all of us here at Impact News, we wish you a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week with more information to move your family forward. Thank you, Dr. K.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.